Hello, today we're talking about the most prestigious prize in world books. In this special show, we're going to tell you about not just one Nobel Literature laureate, but two. This year's winner and last year's winner have been announced because the prize was cancelled in 2018 over a sexual harassment scandal. Polish author Olga Tokarczuk and Austria's Peter Handke are the new Queen and King of Literature. Let's have a listen to the announcement.
The Nobel Prize in Literature for 2018 is awarded to the Polish author Olga Tokarczuk for a narrative imagination that with encyclopedic passion represents the crossing of boundaries as a form of life. The Nobel Prize in Literature for 2019 is awarded to the Austrian author Peter Handke for an influential work that with linguistic ingenuity has explored the periphery and the specificity of human experience.
And I'm joined in the studio by Sarah Rigaud from the French publisher Les Escales and our book critic Catherine Khédir-Clifford. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Now, Sarah, first of all, what's your reaction to this year's winners?
Well, I think like everybody else, I was really excited and interested to know who the winners were going to be because, as you all know, there wasn't a winner last year. So I was, in a way, very surprised because the two winners are Europeans. And I thought, the Nobel Prize Academy would open and widen the scope of winners. But I'm very happy that one of them is a woman because there's only been, I think, 15 women in all the history of Nobel Prizes. So I think that's a good thing. Okay. Now, Kathy, Polish writer and activist Olga Tokarczuk, who also won the International Booker Award last year, was awarded the 2018 Nobel Prize. Tell us about her.
So she's already written several best-selling novels, and she's known for sort of blurring the real and the mystical. She trained as a psychologist before publishing her first novel in 1993. Since then, she's produced several really very different works, including the 900-page Books of Jacob and her novel Flight, which won her the Man Booker, as you say, International Prize last year. And she was the first Polish author to win that. She's a controversial figure in Poland. She's even received death threats for criticising certain aspects of the country's history, including episodes of anti-Semitism. And she's a strong critic of Poland's right-wing government.
Okay, and Peter Handke is this year's winner. Tell us about the Austrian playwright and novelist.
So he was awarded the Franz Kafka Prize in 2009. He's also cooperated several times with German director Wim Wenders on, for example, the 1987 cult classic Wings of Desire. Works of note include a poetry collection, Short Letter, Long Farewell, A Sorrow Beyond Dreams about his mother who killed herself, and A Journey to the Rivers, Justice for Serbia. And he actually sparked controversy in the past by sympathising with the Serbs in the Balkans War. I'm not sure how much he'll appreciate this gesture because he's actually called for the abolition of the Nobel Prize for Literature in the past, branding it as false canonization.
Okay, it will definitely be interesting to see his reaction to it then. The Nobel Prize in Literature was first awarded in 1901. Last year, it wasn't awarded because of this sexual assault scandal. Let's have a look back at its history.
Created in 1901 by Swedish chemist Alfred Nobel, the Literature Prize is given out each year to celebrate an author's entire body of work. The winner gets a diploma, a medal, and 8 million Swedish krona, around 822,000 euros. Out of 115 Nobels given out so far, there have only been 15 female prize winners. In 1909, Swedish author Selma Lagerlöf was the first woman to win it. And in 1993, American writer Toni Morrison became the only black woman to receive the award. France has the most literature Nobels with 15 awards, compared to 12 for the US and 11 for the UK. Famous French winners include André Gide, François Mauriac and Albert Camus. In 1986, Nigerian author Wole Soyinka became the first African to win the award. He's one of 4 prize winners from the continent. In 1964, French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre famously turned down the prize. In 2016, American songwriter Bob Dylan became the first musician to win the awards, taking many people by surprise. And in 2018, a sex assault scandal involving the husband of an Academy member meant the award had to be delayed by a year. That's why they decided to crown 2 winners in 2019.
Now, Cathy, in the history of the Nobel Prize for Literature, 2018 was not a good year. Allegations of sexual harassment, rape, corruption, breach of confidentiality. Tell us more.
Yes, it all began in November 2017 when the Swedish Academy, now that's a more than 2-century-old body which is entrusted by the Nobel Foundation to give out these prizes each year. Not one of its members, but the husband of one of its former key members, Catherine Khédir-Clifford, a Swedish poet, was accused and later convicted of rape. Now, the Academy was really split right down the middle on how to respond to these allegations, and all sorts of things emerged during this rift, scheming, conflict of interest, harassment. Several people resigned, several were forced out, and the body was then forced to postpone the prize for a year.
Okay, and Sarah, so how significant is it then that last year's prize has been given to a woman following all of these sexual harassment allegations, and an environmentalist, given that we're in this growing climate change movement?
Well, I think obviously the fact that it's a woman is very significant because, as you just mentioned, only 15 women got it until now. But I think I'm a little surprised by the choice. There are lots of odds and bookmakers taking bets. And the most favored person to win was Maryse Condé. And I thought Maryse Condé would have been a good choice because she's obviously a woman, but she's also from the Guadeloupe, and she's very politically involved, and she has a huge body of work. So I thought maybe also choosing a woman of color would have been a good signal for the Academy to send.
And how does this prize change the life of an author?
Well, I think obviously it's an honor that's known, throughout the whole world. So that's obviously enormous. Also, I think the fact that it's also quite a fair amount of money is also very important because a lot of writers, don't really earn enough to live from what they write. So I think, it's both. But I think obviously it's such an honor that it must be life-changing.
Cathy, how much money do they actually win for this prize?
Well, it's actually around 850,000 euros. Plus the boost to sales.
It's an enormous amount. Well, I know we're probably all going to go and buy one of the books after this show later on our Kindles. Now, France has actually got more Nobel Prize in Literature than any other country. How do you explain that?
Well, I think France has a very, known history of literature and, kind of very serious literature. So I think that's maybe one of the reasons. And it's also probably also because French is a language that used to be read by a lot of people throughout the world. So it's a culture that exports itself more maybe than Polish or other languages.
And I wanted to ask you both, who would be your pre-Nobel laureate if you could choose?
Well, it's maybe an obvious one, but I would go for Margaret Atwood. I think she really deserves it. She's written so many fantastic novels and really experimented across the genres. And I love her sort of clever, witty writing, her fascinating characters. And just you can really feel how much fun she has writing while you're reading it. That said, I was really, really happy with the Polish author, which I'm actually reading one of her books, and so that's fantastic to see some diversity. So
what book should we read of hers if we're going to read one?
Well, I'm currently reading Drive Your Plough Over the Bones of the Dead. It's a murder mystery told from the point of view of an old lady living in a remote Polish village, and it's full of this dark, eccentric humour, and she's really just created such a unique viewpoint, unique voice there.
Okay, and who would be your pre-Nobel laureate?
I love Margaret Atwood, but I'm thinking maybe it would be good to have voices from other people to emerge, maybe younger people from more diverse backgrounds. So I'm thinking maybe in France, somebody like Leila Slimani, who's quite young, but who comes, from Morocco, or maybe another young writer, but Chimamanda Ngozi, who could be also a good choice, for more diversity.
Okay. Sarah and Kathy, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder for you guys at home, Polish author Olga Tokarczuk and Austria's Peter Handke are the new Queen and King of World Literature. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.